with that, we're a couple minutes in, so we will get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Johnny. I am Pozotron's Customer Outreach Manager. Today, I'm Wilson from Home Improvement. You're familiar with that, the friendly neighbor who gives good advice. So hopefully can give you guys some good advice today. Also have Adam on the call, who is
I am Rubius Hagrid, keeper of grounds and keys at Hogwarts. No, I'm Adam Fritz. I'm the CEO of Pozotron, and I unabashedly love Halloween. So,
and yeah, thank you for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about the essential features and techniques in Pozotron. So we're going to be covering all of our core tools and core functionality. This is also the perfect time for any questions regarding Pozotron. Got me and Adam in the same place, and us together should be able to answer your questions. So don't be shy with that, but please use the Q&A box, as that makes it easy for us to find and answer your questions. With that, we will get started. So the agenda, what we're going to be covering today is the script prep tools. So starting from the beginning of a project before you've recorded, we're going to go over those tools that can help you prepare for your narration. Then we're going to go over proofing and reporting, the audio analysis tool, and we'll end off with just some best practices and tips on how to handle any issues that you run into in the process.
just a quick reminder, we do these webinars monthly. If you do want to see some of our previous ones, you can go to our YouTube page, which has everything listed, which has all of our webinars listed. And specific to Erica's question, we did one last month specifically on PDF prep and exactly what you should be doing to get everything ready for uploads to Pozotron. So that is something that we offer. They're always recorded. You can look back at any time.
Awesome. All righty. So with that, let's get started. So we'll start off with the script prep tools. I'm actually going to begin a little bit earlier than that. Show you how to create a project. Looks like we got a question right away. Does Pozotron still read Word documents? Absolutely. So that's something we'll cover right here. So when you're creating a project, really a project is just uploading your script, and that's where you're able to use all of Pozotron's tools. And to get started, you'll click this Create New Project button here. You'll just need to give it a name and upload the document. That can be a PDF, EPUB, or Word document. So all three of those work great. So those are the only required settings. There are a couple other options in here. If you want to enable noise detection for Pozotron to detect background noises, you can turn that on and off. There's also
one thing to note just on the noise detection. Sorry, Johnny, just to jump in.
Yeah.
We are completely rebuilding our noise detection algorithm. So it has been in beta for quite a while now. We've got a lot of data to retrain on. So you should be seeing in the next month or two a massive improvement in how noise detection works in Pozotron.
Yeah, we'll soon be able to take off the beta tag on it. So that is exciting. Thanks, Adam. And then in here, so there's a couple of other settings. You can give it a due date, an ID number for the project. You can also affect Pozotron's sensitivity and how strict it's going to be with the proofing algorithm. So relaxed, extra sensitive, you can kind of play with that and make it more strict or a little bit more relaxed for your projects. The only required thing is to give it a name and actually upload the script, and that will populate a project down here. So these are all my different projects. And to begin to use Pozotron's tools, you'll just click on a project to actually come into it. And all of our tools are listed up here in different tabs. So the first one we'll be talking about today is the prep tools. So that includes the pronunciation and character guide. And another question, Erica, when do you recommend relaxed versus extra sensitive? That's a good question. So it really depends on the feedback you've been getting from Pozotron on your project. So, for example, if you're doing a project where you have a heavy accent, it's a pirate book or something like that, you're going to be speaking in a funny pirate accent for a lot of it, you might want to move that to relaxed because Pozotron could flag those words as mispronounced or something like that. Or you can move it to extra sensitive if you really want to be sure every small thing is going to be flagged. So I'd really recommend just playing around with it. It'll essentially just increase or decrease the amount of suggestions Positron gives you. But regardless of what you choose, we'll catch the glaring mistakes, the big mistakes, missing words or added words, things like that will always get flagged. But it just kind of depends on the pronunciation aspect there. So I hope that answers your question. Back to the pronunciation guide. So what this tool does, when you upload your script and we process it, Positron looks at every single word that is in your script, and it puts together a list for you of all of the potentially difficult to pronounce words. So to look at that list, you'll click this Open Suggestions button, and I'm going to filter this a little bit. So these are the words that Positron's come up with. It's looking at 3 different categories: capitalized rare words, so unique proper nouns. Capitalized cat probably won't get suggested, but maybe a long name like Montgomery or something like that would get flagged in capitalized rare. Complex words are just words that we've deemed are difficult. We've done that in a couple of ways. We actually had narrators go through a list of 150,000 words and rate them simple or complex. So those will get brought onto the list, as well as we look at the individual characters that build up the word based off of certain combinations. We will suggest that word as an option. And then we'll also look at any foreign words, any words not in English or in the primary language of your manuscript. So we see all those lists here. And it looks like we have a question. It would be really helpful to differentiate which tools are available based on the version, subscription level, for example, export markers. That's a good point. We do have that listed on our pricing page, but do you mean a little bit more feedback inside of Positron on what's available or not?
You will see if you do go try and export markers that are not supported. You will get either a pop-up or a tooltip that'll show, this is not supported under your subscription. Inside of this briefing, yeah.
Oh,
so,
sure.
yeah, that's a good point, Johnny. We can go through that when we get to DOM markers.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll go through that a little bit later in the webinar.
Thank you, Robert. Good point.
Thanks. Okay, so we're here. We've got this list of words, which is really great. But the really, really useful thing is Positron is integrated with these online dictionaries. So before you go ahead and add any words to your research list, go ahead and choose what dictionary you'd like to use. I've got Merriam-Webster selected. So that means if I add a word from my research list or from my suggestions list to the research list, it will automatically find a pronunciation for me based off of the dictionary that I've got selected here. So if I add these words, we can see that the phonetic spelling is being added automatically, as well as a recorded pronunciation.
Antenna.
Amiable.
So those are really quick, comes through from Merriam-Webster here. So you can add words. You can also ignore words that you don't need to research, you have no issue with. Certain words that you never want Positron to ever suggest to you. So if you know these words and you don't need to have them on your suggestions list, you can click this 3-dot menu and actually ignore this word permanently. So it adds it to a list for your account. So it will not add these words to your research list. So as you use it and as you use it on more projects, you can kind of filter this list more and more. Let's see. Let's add a word like Dinah. I'll have to kind of look over there. So I'm going to add a couple of words that maybe Positron won't be able to find. So it looks like Ferdy here was not found in Merriam-Webster. So a couple of things to do here. So returning to my research list, if something comes back saying no phonetics, that means Positron was not able to find a pronunciation online. And there's a couple of resources for you here. So the first thing I'd suggest doing is clicking this cloud button right here. So this gets alternate pronunciations. So if there are any other dictionaries that Positron's integrated with that it found an entry for, you'll be able to see that entire list here. It looks like for Ferdy, can't really see because of my fence, but it didn't find anything there. But for other words, if I click the cloud button, you'll see all of these different pronunciations of the word that you can then listen to and add to your research. If it doesn't find anything here, in the case of Ferdy, over on the right-hand side, there are a bunch of other integrations that are one-click links to look this word up in Cambridge and One Look, Youglish, or How'd You Say, so all these different resources. So if I click Youglish, that'll bring me to a video where somebody is saying the word birdie.
My name is Ferdy.
So there we go. So that's pretty good pronunciation. I can copy the URL, come back to Pozotron, and I'm going to click this microphone button to actually record the pronunciation. Birdie, birdie. I can also put a phonetic spelling in here, something like that, and the link to Youglish as well. And when I save this, this actually saves that pronunciation here. So I've got that sorted in my research list. Couple other things to mention as you go through this. If you want to add any of your own words, there's a few ways to do that. I just need to click in the right spot. This thing is kind of annoying. Okay, so up here I can add any word I want to the research list, and it will then research those words. Also, if you read through the script beforehand, you put together your own list of words, you can import all of those at once into Pozotron, and it will research them all back to back. So if you have 50 words, you can copy and paste them all into this box. And it can really save you time, better instead of being on Google, individually searching each word. I can put them all in here and it'll find those pronunciations for you right away.
Yeah, a couple more things. One thing to note is if you do add a custom pronunciation in another book, and then nothing is found, it will actually bring that back up automatically for you. So if nothing is found in your existing dictionaries or your custom pronunciation dictionary, it'll automatically pull those in for you. And then Johnny, I may have missed it, but did you show the R and I hotkeys?
Oh, I did not. That is a good point. So here on the suggestions list, there's a couple of hotkeys. So R and I, R will add it to your research list. I will ignore it. And it'll always do the top entry of your suggestions list. So you can quickly go through, just press R to research, I to ignore, and quickly bounce through the list here. So yeah, that is a good point. I can make it quick or efficient to go through the entire suggestions list. And one other thing, so Adam mentioned it will use pronunciations that you've added in other projects. So you can also add these words to your own personal dictionary. So there's a plus button here. You can also add all of them at once here. So this will actually save every word on your pronunciations list to your account. So all of that research you did, you'll never have to do again. You've got that saved to your personal library. So a couple of good things there. Besides that, there's a couple of collaboration tools here. So if you need anybody's help with the pronunciation research, there's a blue share button up in the top right. You can add anybody you want to your project and give them a specific role. So if you want them to come in and help with the pronunciation guide, make them a researcher, they can come in here and record pronunciations or help you out with any other words. You can also leave messages for each other here. And this will put a little notification on the word so they know that that's what you're discussing. So you can kind of lead them to the correct place. You can invite your author, they can record all of their made up words for you straight in Pozotron. So it makes that process easy. Looks like we have a question. Is there a way to make someone both a researcher and a proofer? In that case, yes, absolutely. So really you would just want to give them the proofer or narrator access. That'll give them access to the script prep tools as well as the proofing tool.
And if you have questions about those various permissions, you can see that little click here button, or you can click on the question mark icon, and that'll actually break down exactly what each role is able to do. But the narrator permissions is essentially you can do almost everything as the project owner, with the exception of of deleting the project, pretty much. So.
Yep. They can't delete anything, but they'll be able to view and edit pretty much everything in the project. So when in doubt, just go with narrator, and that gives them access to everything. But if you do want to limit them in any way, then check out the support article that shows you each one of these. And thank you, Lindsay. She just put that in the chat, so the link is there. Okay, great. Anything I am forgetting, Adam, or is that everything here?
No, maybe the only other thing is if you have used a created a custom pronunciation dictionary, you can add all those words to your project in a couple clicks. So basically, you know, for an example, Disney works in Pozotron and they do all their Star Wars content through. They can automatically add all the Star Wars names. They've got 1,500 words on the list to the project, and then they can automatically ignore every single one of those words that's not actually found in the project manuscript.
Exactly. So that's right here in import export. There's a lot of options here. So if you need to add words from your dictionary, export to Excel, or actually transfer research between projects, there's a ton of different options in here, depending on what you need. David, is there a way to set categories for personal dictionaries? Like one in a series, a name may be pronounced one way, which we would want to save for that series, but not for every book. Adam, do you want to respond to
that? Not currently. We would like to get to that point, but as you can imagine, it's layers and layers of complexity. So that's why we've done, when you add those words, you just click hide, and then you'd be able to not show it. But yeah, for example, Johnny and Janae, if for whatever reason you pronounced his name Janae, no, it can only have one saved pronunciation per word. However, if you show transfer research, then instead of adding things to your pronunciation guide, you can use that transfer research functionality just within a series.
Exactly. That's what I was going to show. So this transfer research button takes all of the words in this particular project, and you can move them into any other project that you own. So if you have a series, you could have all of the words in the first book of the series that you researched. You can just move those to the second book without actually putting them into your pronunciation dictionary. So there's a couple of different flexible ways of approaching that. But I think categories or having separate dictionaries within your account is a goal for the future of our development. So hopefully one day we can have that. Thank you for the questions, though. This is great. All right. So moving on from the pronunciation guide, the other script prep tool is the character guide. So the character guide works similarly. It scans your scripts, but this time it's looking for characters that are in the project. So you can see here, these are all names. It shows you the amount of times this character is mentioned in the script. It also shows their first occurrence. So you can sort this. I have it sorted by number of occurrences. So it's showing me the most common name said throughout the book. So you can kind of see who's the main character, things like that. From here, so I'm going to add Sherlock to my character guide. I can also add, let's see if I can click the right spot, any character I want up here. Now this will try to research the pronunciation of their name, but the main point of this is to actually have a repository of character details. So we can see Sherlock's already added, and I added him to my personal character guide. So my account-wide character guide, it actually had this information saved. You can see Watson is blank. So that when you add a character, you're able to upload a photo for the character, like I have done for Sherlock. I can enter the character description, so details about the character, what they look like, their personality, things like that. And then in here, you'll have the voice notes, so what they're supposed to sound like. Sherlock's got a deep baritone, speaks quickly with a London accent. And then on the right-hand side, there's an area for you to record voice samples. You can record as many voice samples as you'd like, 30 seconds each, to ensure you've captured some dialogue from the character and can refer to it at any point in the future. And like I said, you're able to add this to your account, so you can save all the voices that you've created and have your own library of that as well. Now, one thing about the character voices guide, I'm going to show you in a different project. So this is the Jungle Book here. When you're adding characters from the suggestions list, you'll see some of these characters have an AI tag here. So what this means is Pozotron has identified some details about the character as it scanned through. So not all of them have it, but if it does have the AI tag and you add it to your project, like I've done with these three here, these have the AI tag, we can see that it's identified some details. I did not fill this out. So for Father Wolf, It's identified that he is male and he has a deep rumbling voice. Shere Khan has description as well. So this is in beta as well, but I did want to let you know if you add a character and you see it's already filled out, that's Pozotron trying to do some work for you. Additionally, it's going to look for dialogue that the character has. So eventually this tool will show you every single line of dialogue that a character has throughout the entire manuscript. And you'll actually be able to highlight those sections of dialogue with a particular color. And so these are some tools we're working on that are free and in beta right now. So wanted to make sure
And
you're aware of those.
in future, you'll be able to actually tell the large language model that we built for that character descriptions tool which specific characters to look up if they're not caught. And just to clarify by what Johnny meant, there still is a charge for the script prep tools, but there's no additional charge for those AI powered tools.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. So these are already in there. They'll work if you're using the script prep tools. But yes, currently they have to have that AI tag. In the future, we'd like you to be able to search up Mowgli and then have Pozotron pull all the cues it can from the manuscript. But I had one customer be like, "Hey, what's going on here? There's some descriptions in my character guide that I didn't write, so wanted to let you know those exist." Besides that, the character guide has the same collaboration tools, so you can share the project with anyone. You can also share a read-only version for the pronunciation guide and the character guide, which I didn't show you here. So this just creates a URL. And if I copy this and go to this web page, this will be a read-only version of the character guide. So you can send this to your author. You can receive this as a narrator from them, or just have a read-only version of this data. All right, now the last thing to mention, when you've done prep tools, when you use the prep tools, all of the data that you have in the pronunciation guide and the character guide, you can use this export marked script button to get a head start in marking up your manuscript. This is a really, really useful tool. It's automatic. I just click export marked script, click this blue button, and that will download a copy of your script. If I open this up, let me get out of that, and I search for, let's find Sherlock, you'll see that he's been highlighted all throughout the script. And if I hover over him, I'll see the notes that I put into my character voice guide in a comment box. So I can quickly, as I'm reading off the script, hover over Sherlock to see, oh yeah, he's got a London accent. Also, any words on your pronunciation guide will be highlighted in yellow. So we can see here, like Ferdy, and if I hover over that, I'll see the phonetic spelling of how to say the word. Also, it's got a link to the recorded pronunciation, so you can click that and listen back to it. So if you do mark up your script, this is a really easy way to put all of the hard work that you put into researching straight into your script just with a click of the button. Question, can you control things like font size in that exported script? Currently not, but it is just a copy of your script. So whatever font size it had in the original one, it'll look the same as that. But there is no current way to actually edit the PDF from the export button. But thank you for the question.
There will be, though. There will be.
There will be. Stay tuned. Great. All right, let me pull this up and make sure I didn't miss anything. So we talked about export mark script, transfer research. So I already touched upon that, but I will show you quickly where to view your custom dictionary. So all of these words are currently in this project. But if I go to my account and I go to my profile, there's a tab in here for pronunciation dictionary and the character guide. And if I come in here, we'll see all of these words that I've added to my dictionary. From here, you can create words and edit them, make any changes you need. But this is, again, your personal library. So the more research you do, you'll have your own library of words there. So you won't have to research them more than once, hopefully. Okay, that's it for the script prep tools. If you have any other questions about that, let me know. I'm going to move on to the proofing part of Pozotron. So if you don't know, essentially what Pozotron's doing when we come back into this project and I upload my audio files here. So under the proofing tab, you'll drag and drop your audio files here. They can be MP3, FLAC, or WAV. The only limitation is one audio file can't be longer than 2 hours. And when you upload it, what Pozotron's doing is it's going to process it and it's going to essentially match it to your script. So if there's any deviation from the narration to what was written, Pozotron will give you an output of every single one of those mistakes. And we call those annotations. So you can see in these audio files I've uploaded here, the status is showing me how many annotations Pozotron found in the narration. By the way, you can also reorganize these. Oh, well, it's not working for me, but so to look at these annotations in detail, I'm going to click the Open Proofing button. This will show me the script in front of me. It's been synchronized to the audio, so I can just click anywhere I want in the script and hit the space bar or hit play to listen back.
Pozotron is more accurate and sensitive than a human proofer.
You'll see it highlights each word as it's said, so it's easy to follow along. On the left-hand side, you'll see the list of annotations. So these are all the potential errors that Pozotron found. Excuse me. They've also got buttons for feedback. So as you listen to them, you tell Pozotron either this is okay, this is a typo, or this is a pickup, and that will flag it for you. So I'll show you the workflow here. I'm going to come down to this section right here and hit play.
Our audio proofing tool is designed to catch the key mistakes your narrator may make during narration, including words accidentally added into the script by the narrator.
So here the narrator inserted the word accidentally that was not written on the script. So it's flagged that as a word inserted, and I'm going to mark that as a pickup. Now, this isn't actually changing anything. We're just flagging this as something that needs to be corrected. And then once we're done proofing, I'll show you what kind of reports you can use and the method of correcting those.
Words missed from the script, of course.
So here, Pozotron flagged this as words missing. The narrator did not say these words. I'll mark that as a pickup.
Of course, it will find misperceptions and misspoken words.
Here is a misread. It'll catch that as well as mispronunciations. And by the way, there's a filter out button as well. So this button will essentially ignore this suggestion throughout the entire project. So if Pozotron's flagging something over and over again as a mispronunciation, I could click filter out, and anytime it reads mispronunciations but hears misperceptions, it will ignore that and not flag it for you. So that's useful if there's a character name, like one of my favorite characters, his name is Quoth. It's spelled Kvothe, so that might, I actually haven't run that through Pozotron, so I don't know if it would get that, but if it flagged that as a mistake every time, I could hit filter out, so I don't need to click OK a bunch of times. Moving on.
Pauses longer than 2 seconds. Noises.
So we'll catch pauses longer than 2 seconds. You can also filter these out to change the threshold of what Pozotron will flag. So if we've got a 2.4 second pause and I hit filter out, anything that is longer than 2.4 seconds will still get flagged. Anything shorter will be ignored. So you can do that as well. Just have to hit yes.
Noises, including audio distortions, synthetic sound issues, and natural noises like a dog barking or a fire truck siren.
So here's some background noises that it'll flag, like clipping. Here's detected noise, dog, domestic animals, pets, animal bark, bow wow, and some other noises. So I can mark that as well. And if you ever have any feedback around the noise classification, there's a button here as well to give us some feedback and help us make the noise detection feature even more accurate. But as Adam said, we are releasing a big update to this pretty soon, so looking forward to that. All right, and now one other thing to mention here, if you notice something that you want to fix that Pozotron didn't actually flag, you can just click and highlight any section, and there's a button here to manually create a pickup. So if there's some issue here. Maybe if I just want to, add more emotion or leave any note for myself to correct something, I can do that. Then I'll create a user-generated pickup here. So you always have control over that as well. All right, so let's see, a couple other things to show you here. So annotation types, just to let you know what those are, we just went through that. But words inserted, words missing, mispronunciations or misreads, long pauses, and background noises. Those are the 5 categories of things Pozotron will find.
And there is actually two types of noises we flagged. So one of them is hard clipping in your audio file, which is an audio distortion, and the other one is our actual natural noises. And so if you filter out hard clipping, that will just filter out the hard clips. If you filter out the natural noises, it'll just filter out the natural noises. Just so you know, those are from a filter out perspective are different.
Very cool. Did not know that. Thanks, Adam. Alrighty, so a couple other things here. The filter out button we've already talked about. Script Sync is a new feature, relatively new feature that actually allows you to kind of integrate all of the prep work you did with the proofing side of Pozotron, and actually creates a link so you can send things to your prep tools from proofing and vice versa. So up at the top here, you'll see there's a couple of check marks. And I actually don't know if any words are on this. I might need to go to a different chapter. So with these turned on, you'll see Watson and Sherlock, as well as any word on my pronunciation list will be highlighted, kind of like the export mark script. But what this does is as I'm listening to ensure the correct character voice was used in dialogue or the correct pronunciations were used, I can click on Watson, and if I have, let's click on Sherlock, because that actually has some information in it. So here I'll see the pronunciation of Sherlock. I'll have access to the voice notes or the voice recordings that I put in the character guide, as well as all the details about the characters. So as I listen to Sherlock's dialogue, I can listen back to a short clip and just make sure that the voice is consistent throughout. I can also update this from the dialogue in this page here. So this is a sentence, well, Watson, what do you make of it? That Sherlock's saying.
Well, Watson, what do you make of it?
If I wanted to, I could click and highlight this section and actually add this to Sherlock's character guide. So if I go to characters here, we can see Sherlock is on the list. And if I click add voice sample, that just took that short clip and added it to Sherlock. So I've got that saved in my character guide now. So this creates kind of a two-way link between your prep tools and the proofing tool. Same with any pronunciations. So let's say, here's a pronunciation. If I wanted to add this to my pronunciation guide, I'm here, and let's say I have, that word on my list, I can add this pronunciation to any word on my entry. So I can add it there. And it takes that clip of them saying the word correctly, and that saves it as well to the project. Adam, looks like we have a question. Can you take that? I'm going to take a sip of water.
Yes. What does noise floor minus infinity mean? That means we have had an issue measuring the noise floor there. And so it means there's some sort of issue with the audio analysis for this file. So that means minus infinity, which should probably show like a question mark or something like that. But good question.
Yeah, so I've actually looked into that, why we get that message. It's essentially such a tiny number that Pozotron just shows negative infinity instead of like negative 0.00000, forever. So it's a very tiny number that it's registering there, and that's what we show instead of that.
Yeah, we could probably change that, Lindsay, if you want to make a note there.
Yeah, maybe make it a little more intuitive. Thanks for the question. Alrighty, let's see, speed mode. Okay, so showed that and sensitivity sections. So speed mode is essentially you're doing the same thing. However, you're utilizing some features of Pozotron to quickly proof and spot check all of the only the issues that Posotron's flagged. So if you just want to check what's here, they're all listed on the left-hand side, and you don't want to listen to the rest, there is a method of doing that really, really quickly that I'll show you here. So when you select an annotation, Pozotron will bring you to that point in the chapter. So if I click right here, you'll see it scrolls all the way to that point, and I can hit play to listen to just that section. So there's a technique where you select the top annotation, and there's always an annotation to just make sure that the audio starts at the correct point, or at the beginning of your chapter, and there's not a bunch of dead silence there. Sorry, we have a question. Is there something to be done when narrating? I'm not sure I understand the question.
So, Julia, I'll attempt to answer this, but please add some context if I'm wrong. So there is nothing to do in terms of Pozotron. You don't narrate into Pozotron yet. We will be building that functionality, but basically you're going to go in once you've done all your prep, you're going to get your script to read from, you're going to go into Pro Tools or Audition or Audacity, whatever you use, do your narration, and then drag and drop export that audio into MP3, FLAC, or WAV format, and then upload it to Pozotron to do your proofing. Eventually, we'd like to get to the point where you can do everything end to end in Pozotron, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, just some foreshadowing for that in the future.
And if we didn't answer your question properly, please.
Yeah, if there's any more details, or if you could direct us to the right thing, that'd be great. Well, okay, so it's back to speed mode. So if you have a annotation selected, we'll automatically go to that point. Pozotron also has a whole bunch of hotkeys that you can use to quickly proof through a chapter. There's a whole bunch here, so I'd recommend taking a look at those. But the main ones are A on your keyboard marks things as okay, D marks things as pickup, and then G marks things as a typo. So those are the 3 buttons here. You can access those all with your left hand. So when I have an annotation selected and I press A, for example, you can see it marks this annotation as okay, and it also skips to the next one. There's a yellow border around this showing that's selected. So if I use spacebar to play the audio, I can listen to just this section here.
To know him, give him this mark of their appreciation.
You can see that's okay, so I'll press A to mark it, and then it jumps to the next one in the list.
The hospital, in order to start a practice for himself.
That's a pickup.
You will observe that he could not have been on the staff.
That's okay.
As Sherlock Holmes leaned back into his settee.
That's a pickup.
Medical shelf, I took down the medical dictionary and turned up unambitious and absent-minded. It is my experience and restless as the antennae of an insect. Appeal strongly, then had you better not consult him.
That's a pickup. And that's okay. So that allowed me to run through this 12-minute chapter in about 20 seconds. So it's a very, very quick way of just spot checking. So if you're just interested, again, in what Pozotron is flagged, that's an easy way for you to run through a whole chapter. There's also a button here, which I did not mention, which is to filter the list here. So if I only wanted to show a particular kind of pickup, I can do that. Or if I wanted to hide certain pickups, so I want to hide all of the pauses, for example, that will remove them from this list. So I can kind of laser focus on the pickups I'm trying to find inside Pozotron. Then there's a couple buttons here to mark all as pickups. So if I wanted to mark every single pause as a pickup and then export that to my DAW, I can do that quickly in Pozotron. And there's a brand new button here to go back to the project, which was requested. Adam, anything else to add to the proofing interface?
No, you did a great job. Great job covering it. Really, I would say if you do have questions or specific things about your workflow, please book a demo with us. So if you go to your My Projects page, there's a book a demo button there right on the main page there. That'll give you our calendar. You can open it, click that and book a demo with us. There's no cost. The goal is to make sure you're using Pozotron in as efficient way as possible.
Mm-hmm. And it says book a demo, but really if you want to talk to us about anything, you can use this button. Workflow consultation, feature requests, anything, we're super happy to hear all of that. So that button's there. All right, let's come back into this, make sure I didn't miss everything. or miss anything. So that's good. So after you've gone through and proofed everything, it looks like we got a question. Would you recommend scanning through? So it's really up to you how you want to use Pozotron. I've talked to a bunch of narrators that use us in very different ways. Some people listen through to everything. They do a lot of manual annotations. They have a different proofing workflow than somebody else who might just use speed mode to run through everything before they send it off to a publisher because they don't want to get a ton of pickups back
And
in the middle of their
sometimes
next
people do
project.
both. Sometimes
Yeah.
people do a full listen, record their pickups, and then do speed mode to make sure they've caught everything. So it really depends. And Erica, I would suggest if you're asking some really good questions, a workflow demo would probably make a lot of sense for you to figure out exactly how you work and then how best to implement Pozotron.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so once you've gone through and marked things as pickups, that's really what we're doing in the proofing section. We're going to get to the reporting and, what are we going to do with all of that information? Because all we've done is flagged things as mistakes and they need to be fixed. So there's a few export options. The biggest time saver, in my opinion, is the DAW markers. So this is a screenshot of kind of what that is, but essentially in Pozotron, you can export for a specific chapter or for everything DAW markers. And we support pretty much every DAW on the market. You'll just want to go to the import export button. Sorry, I did that kind of fast. Go to DAW markers here, and then choose what DAW you are using. And if there's not one on the list that you use, let us know. We're trying to accommodate to everybody and no matter what software they use. So let us know if yours is not on the list, but you'll just want to choose what DAW you're using. I choose Audacity and hit export. This just downloads a folder containing a file for each of your chapters. And when you import it into your session in Audacity, it puts in a separate track and marks exactly where these mistakes are in your raw audio file. Now, a lot of people use this in combination with our pickup packet. So the pickup packet is an automatic report. It's really great. You can filter it to certain kinds of pickups, but really you just hit import export, go to pickup packet, and click export. This will bring you to an automatic report showing you every single one of your pickups. But it's got all the relevant details here. So it shows you what chapter this is, what pickup this is, what the issue was is kind of summarized here. It's got the timestamp. It's also got the original context. So you've got the script with the pickup highlighted and the original recording. So a lot of people have this open as well as their DAW, kind of split it up on their screen, and they can read the correct script or the correct context here and know exactly where they need to put it in their audio file at the same time. So this can be used in combination. That's generally how it's used. The other export, if you're more familiar with Excel and the original format, you can export this into Excel. This will have the same information, but just in an Excel sheet. So that's kind of the old school ways. We support both ways. But those options should help you get to your pickups quickly. Now, one thing to mention is if you record your pickups, again, this is workflow specific. Some narrators want to run it through Pozotron again. And you'll see this little green, this green icon here shows that this is a re-upload. And what this means is Pozotron will give you an automatic 50% discount on the audio that you upload if it's the second time you're uploading it to a project. So if you want to be super safe and double check everything, we will give you an automatic discount there to make that a little bit easier. Again, workflow specific, so people use it in a lot of different ways.
And if you do re-upload audio, it will prompt you to transfer OK annotations, which basically means that you will automatically mark all the annotations in your second version that you okayed in the first version, so you don't have to go back and click OK again.
Exactly. Yeah, don't want you to have double work if necessary. So, great. Looks like we don't have any questions. If you have any questions about that, let us know. one thing I actually skipped over, just to make sure that when you're exporting these markers or the pickup packet, there's an option here. This is really the most important option in the export, is how the timestamps are organized. So it really depends how you have it set up in your DAW. You have an individual session for each chapter. Make sure that the timestamps are relative to the start of each chapter or section. If you have one long session with the chapters kind of ongoing throughout it, you can change the timestamps to relative to the start of the book, and that'll just make sure it lines up correctly. So if it doesn't line up correctly, it's probably due to this setting not being correct. So I wanted to call that out. Julia, if you have the -infinity for the noise floor, will this be rejected on ACX or a publisher? I don't think so, but let's see what the passo noise floor. So
on here, it should show a much more accurate. Does it show -infinity there? It's very small.
So this is -infinity. Oh, sorry, I can zoom in a little bit. So it's showing -infinity and it's showing it that it passed. So really the expected result is it just has to be -60. So I believe this is a pass. But again, we will, we made a note to make this more clear so that it's easier to verify that against ACX's standards. So thank you, Julia. We do need to address that. Appreciate it. You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Okay, so moving on, we're almost at the end here. Wow, this is a perfect segue, Julia. Thank you. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the audio analysis tool. From here, so I kind of showed you how it worked already, but essentially, let me actually go back so it's wiped clean. Essentially, what this tool allows you to do, so after you've done all your pickups, then you've mastered the audio files, and you're about to upload it to ACX or to Spotify or to a publisher that has specific requirements for your audio files, you can quickly check if they're up to par or not in Pozotron. So you'd upload that to, you'd have to upload again your mastered audio files here. And then you would select your preset here. So we've got ACX, Spotify, Authors Republic, and Audiobooks Unleashed already as system presets. But if there is a publisher you're working with that has their own specifications, you can easily add a preset here. So once you get the details from them, just enter in the expected results. And when you upload your files, Pozotron will test them against whatever preset you have selected here. So I've got ACX standard selected. If I hit show analysis, it'll show me if my files passed or failed. More so, it'll show you what specific areas need to be fixed in terms of specifications. So if I click this drop down, that'll show me, file duration, sample rate, sample peak, true peak, RMS, noise floor, top and tail duration, all of these details. It will show you the expected result as well as the actual result. So it's a quick snapshot to make sure your files are going to be accepted when you submit them. Yeah, that's it for audio analysis. Anything else to add, Adam? Did I miss anything?
No, we will be. I mean, we have some long-term visions for this. So, for example, one of the things I'd like to build is use our automated speech recognition tools to actually be able to check like your sample to make sure there's no word, no words, swear words, or sexual content or anything like that. Another thing we have envisioned for this tool is to make sure that the beginning of every chapter starts with chapter number, chapter title in the audio file. So lots of really good thoughts we have moving forward. This will come out of beta very soon, and we will be charging for it eventually, likely starting in 2025. But it'll be significantly less expensive than the proofing tool.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you have any specific things you're looking for, any suggestions, Lindsay, if you want to put the feature request link in the chat as well. Just want to say that a lot of our good ideas are because people have requested them, and we want to make this tool as useful as possible. So if you have any frustration, any tedious action you have to do in your workflow, Adam has this magic wand question, and essentially if you had a magic wand and we could have a feature that does exactly what you want, we really want that feedback. So keep that in mind. And yeah, thank you. Lindsay put that in the chat. So that was everything I had covered. I do want to quickly show you scan occurrences just because this can save your save you a lot of time if you need it. Hopefully you don't. Essentially what scan occurrences allows you to do is scan for every single time you said a particular word in your recordings. So if you said Sherlock right here, it'll take any word on your pronunciation guide automatically. But if I wanted to make sure I said Sherlock correctly throughout the whole project, or when I submitted the files, they told me you mispronounced. You said neither. We wanted you to say neither throughout the entire book. You have to find all those points and correct them. This tool will scan your audio files.
Chapter 1.
It'll play back to back to back all of the occurrences of this particular word, like a 4-second clip. And if there's any mistakes, I can select all of these. I could select any ones that were incorrect and export these markers or just mark them as a pickup using that annotate button. So if you need it, can save you a ton of time, and that is always there in case you need it. Now, I think someone had a question actually on what is available in each subscription plan, that we might want to go into that in the last few minutes of the webinar. Oh, actually, I had one more slide here. Do this really quickly. So best practices, things to keep in mind. If you run into any issues with Pozotron showing you a bunch of gibberish in the proofing page, or it's not reading it correctly, that usually comes from a PDF issue or an OCR issue, or if it has ligatures in the script, which are 2 characters combined. We just had a webinar on how to fix this last month. But if you do run into any of those issues, let us know. We want the tool to work for you, and we know how to fix this so we can show you. And also, make sure you're not paying double for a project that didn't work. If you re-upload it and stuff like that, we'll help you figure that out. And the best way to get in touch with us is actually using this Get Help button in Pozotron. So if you email us, that's great, but we will ask you then to share the project with us. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone using the Get Help button. They'll give us all the information we need, show us what project you're working on. You can upload screenshots. And when you hit request, it shares the project with us so we can help you fix the issue that you're running into. So don't be shy about that. We want to help you make sure the tool works great. If you have any questions that you want to look up on your own, there's a question mark here for our support page. We've got tutorials that I have slaved away and hopefully covering every aspect of Pozotron. So a lot of good information in here that you can always access. And we also have a great YouTube page with a bunch of tutorials as well. So 3 great resources. But yeah. Okay, so let's pull up and I think the question came from Bob. If there's any specific question you have on what's available and what
I think it was just more for general use. Knowing Bob, he's a Pozotron super user and one of our biggest affiliate. And so for this perspective, you scroll down to the bottom, Johnny, and go choose all or show all plans. Yeah, so really the difference is if you scroll down to the bottom here, we have pay-as-you-go, smart rollover, narrator, and publisher. Publisher being there's many different rates in terms of different, but all of our pricing is by volume discount. The major limitation is only Audacity DAW exports are available on the pay-as-you-go plan. Everything but Pro Tools on the Studio One, on the Smart Rollover and Narrator plans, and then everything on the Publisher plan. We can add Pro Tools access to any of these plans. You just need to contact us, and there's just an additional cost for that because Pro Tools is a premium feature. Question from Erica: does it make a difference cost-wise whether you upload audio for the whole book or individual chapters? It does not. One limitation: you can only upload audio 2 hours at a time. But you didn't answer this already while I was distracted, did you, Johnny?
No, no, no. I'm
Okay,
just
good.
realizing again that you're Hagrid, and it's
Yeah.
just funny. So,
I was answering a message about my kids at school. So, so no, the chapter limit is per file is 2 hours. But as long as you don't upload audio files that overlap, which obviously would have, then you're double uploading and getting double charged. You could upload an entire 10-hour audiobook 1 minute at a time if you want. So completely
yep.
up to you.
Yeah, doesn't make a difference cost-wise. What I'll say, we most commonly see it uploaded chapter by chapter. That seems to be the normal, the easiest way of keeping it all organized. But yeah. Yeah, sorry. It's just funny seeing you talk professionally in your outfit. It's just, I just realized that you're
I will
Hagrid.
definitely be forced to speak more in my Hagrid voice tonight during trick-or-treating.
Oh, sure. Great. Okay. Well, that is everything we had planned. If there's any more questions, we're happy to stay on and answer. But thank you all so much for attending and for the questions. Hopefully you learned something and this was useful. And thanks for using Pozotron, and happy Halloween.
You're a wizard, Wilson. Thanks, everyone.
Sir. Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.